Hi, welcome. My name is Jane Powell, and this is the Greater Kanawha Valley Foundation by the Numbers 2021. Today, Dr. Michelle Foster, our President and CEO, and I will discuss all the numbers that you want to know about the foundation and what happened in the year 2021. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you. It's a pleasure for me to be with you again.
So let's just start off. We have a new mission this year.
Yeah, we have this new mission that we started talking about it in late 2021 when we had our strategic planning session, and then we polished it off in early 2022. So the Greater Kanawha Valley Foundation is a philanthropic leader that helps donors, nonprofits, and other collaborative partners strengthen our community so that all of the people and places we serve have the opportunity to thrive. So that's at the heart of who we are.
It's powerful.
We think so, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's powerful. We have our mission. It is what we do, but we need assets to do that work with. Assets come in a lot of different ways, but let's just talk about the numbers. How many funds do we have?
At the end of 2021, we had 555 funds, a lot of funds for our growing community foundation.
Yes. And so 555 funds, what does that translate to in assets?
A little over 329 million.
Are you kidding me?
We have been growing. Yes, we are at the end of the year, 329,400,000 to be exact. So.
That makes me very proud. That is great faith from the community.
Absolutely, and great. We live in a very generous community where people really care about philanthropy, which is love of humankind. So they show their love by giving of their assets to make our community a better place.
And so when we talk about that number, 329, it shows great growth over 10 years. A consistent growth, and obviously that's based on donors, and that's also based on the stock market.
The stock market streets, yeah.
But we have been very fortunate to show consistent growth for the last 10 years. I like that. And with that growth comes distributions, what we were able to put back into the community.
So the more we receive, the more we are able to give through our various types of funds. Many people know us for our grant making through our discretionary grant making process, but we also have donor advised, donor designated, and scholarship funds.
And so just to be clear, when we say grant distributions, we're talking about donor advised, donor designated, and discretionary funds.
Right.
And when we look at that number, it has again shown growth. And last year, in those three categories, a little over $12 million.
A little over 12 million, yeah. 12,322,534.
And that's money that we were able to put back into the community.
Because of the generosity of our donors, we then turn around and distribute to our community.
Yeah. That does a lot of work.
A lot of great work, a lot of great partners, and we always want to make sure that we mention that our work would not be possible, the impact that we're making would not be possible, but for our nonprofit partners. So we are supporting the great work that's happening on the ground, and we want to make sure that they're impactful and that they're successful. So that's what we're all about.
Because that's what changes lives.
Absolutely.
So we know that these distributions are happening. Can you break it down a little bit further into categories and tell me just a little bit about how it's distributed? Maybe not distributed, and within what categories is it distributed?
We've given a wide variety of categories. As you can imagine, health is huge. So about 21% of what we distributed last year was in the health category. Education is huge as well, and we broke down education distributions at the community level compared to and separated out the distributions at the university level. So at the community level, 17% of our distributions went to community-based organizations that are providing services and education. And then we've got 13% going to the education initiatives at universities. Then there is basic needs, those critical needs, the need for shelter, the need for food. Those needs, we distributed 15% of our distributions went there. 15% to community economic development in some way. 13% in arts and culture, and then a few other smaller gifts. Some of our donor designated and donor advised funds, they go to religious organizations, about 4%, and then a small amount then to animal related nonprofits and intermediary organizations.
So you touched on the fact that health was the largest category at 21%. An example of a health grantee would be West Virginia Health Right?
West Virginia Health Right, one of our high-performing grantees in the health category.
It's just a category for health. I like, and we know that they do a wide variety of health services, but an example of how that money is spent for the health. And you touched on it, the distributions by fund type. Let's just break that down a little bit further.
Yes, if you were to think of our distribution pie, the largest category of our distributions originate from donor advised funds. Those are distributions where the donors tell us, they recommend to the board where they would want those funds to be distributed. So 40% donor advised, 25% donor designated, and these are funds where when they were established, the donors told us, every year I want my distributions, and these are endowed funds, and our annual spend is it's been 4.5% for the last few years. So whatever they have to distribute, they would like it to go to a particular nonprofit. So that's set at the establishment of the fund.
And that happens automatically every year.
Automatically every year. So that's 25% of our distributions went there. 29% went from our discretionary funds. And as many of you know, we have a competitive grant making process that our program officers work with nonprofits all year long and present applications for consideration on a quarterly basis. Now, those funds, we distributed 29% of our distributions came from discretionary funds. So it just shows that, and the remaining 6% from scholarship funds. So the fact that 65% of our distributions were donor directed just shows the impact that a donor, someone listening out there, can make to improve our community.
This might be a nice time to mention that with the discretionary and the advised, with the discretionary particularly, we service a 6-county region.
6-county region, yes. All of our discretionary grants, they have to be made in Boone, Clay, Fayette, Kanawha, Lincoln, and Putnam counties. However, donor designated and donor advised funds could be to any nonprofit.
And the scholarship is a statewide program.
Our huge scholarship program. Any student in West Virginia in any county can apply for a scholarship. Yeah. And we have over 100 different funds, and they each have their own criteria. So there may be some that are for graduates of a particular high school, or people low income and have severe need. So there are different criteria that each donor establishes when setting up a scholarship fund.
And all that's available. That information is all available on our website. Yes.
TGKVF.org.
So anyone that was curious about a special field of study or a school or an income could find that information there.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about donor advised distributions.
Yes, if we were to look at the categories of distributions again, the largest chunk of donor advised distributions went to community-based education projects. That was followed by community economic development projects, Arts and culture was 11%. So we went from 24% to community-based education, 22% some kind of community economic development type project, 11% arts and culture, 8% basic needs, and 6% education programs at universities.
So let's just, because that's a little tricky, education community-based versus education university. When we talk about education community-based, we would be referring to daycare centers,
after-school programs,
all that. And then university obviously is pretty self-explanatory with different programs at universities. So that was donor advised distributions. Let's talk about donor designated distributions. These are the ones that the donor sets up at the initial time of establishing the fund.
The largest chunk there goes to education at the community, at the university level. So education university, 33% of donor designated distributions went to that in that area. Then it was followed by arts and culture, 24%. For example, folks may designate that their annual distributions go to like the Clay Center. So that's the symphony and so on.
Great.
Basic needs comprised 9%, and then community economic development type projects 6%. So just that more than a third of donor designated distributions go to universities.
So now let's talk about discretionary distributions. I think we're going to see a big shift in the way the funds are distributed with the discretionary process.
Yes, a third, 30% of our discretionary dollars went to basic needs. So those are those programs that support people who are in need, and they need housing, food pantries. Those kinds of organizations receive 30% of discretionary funding. That was followed by community-based education programs, 20%, and then by basic needs was followed by health, 24% health.
And we know just from the headlines in the newspaper and on the 6 o'clock news and CNN that this is happening all across the nation. This is
Absolutely.
a need in our country. So I'm not surprised to see this.
So that that funding supports departments of
Critical
health,
needs.
critical needs, health, and that includes dental care as well. And then education community-based is 20%. Only 6% of our discretionary distributions went to education at university level, those programs. Because as you see, there's lots of other funding that takes care of those. And arts and culture, 7%.
And again, the discretionary funds are through an application and thorough review, working with our program officers there.
And with our volunteers from the community that help. We have several task groups where community volunteers have an input, and if they don't agree and they don't support an initiative, it doesn't get through.
Right.
So it just shows the importance of having that community voice. And with our arts and culture distributions here, we were able to support organizations that may not necessarily get those designated funds. So more grassroots organizations that are doing arts and culture projects, like the Multicultural Fest is one of our recipients there. There are a number of local arts programming, like summer arts programs that get support from our discretionary dollars as well.
Right, and we know those are important on so many levels.
Absolutely.
Stimulating creativity, giving people a place to be in the summer. There's a lot of reasons why that's very
engaging
important.
young people and making them want to stay in West Virginia.
There's a big one, that's right.
It's huge.
Let's talk about the number of awards by category.
Yeah, if we were to think of the category with the most number of awards were the community-based education awards that had 93 donor-advised grants.
And again, examples of that would be Mission West Virginia, who does fostering of youth and mentorship, Zion Childcare, which takes care of the smaller ones, and offers one of my favorite points about Zion. I think you and I have talked about this. Is they have daycare for shift workers.
Yes,
which just to me is huge.
Right. Overall, our discretionary grants totaled 105. So we made 105 discretionary grants. Our donor advised that category had the largest number of grants, 467. Donor designated, they were 251. And then if we think about our scholarships, we made 359 scholarship awards. So 359 students from around the state got support to pursue post-secondary education. So that's exciting too. So when you add all these up, it's over, to be precise, 1,182
awards,
grants and scholarship awards.
Wow.
And together, they total $13,126,712 distributed.
Yeah, that's impactful.
It's amazing.
And Michelle, you and I travel together a lot, and I would say it happens almost every time we're somewhere. Someone in the audience will come up to us and say, "I received a scholarship. Thank you so much."
Yeah.
And it can be bankers and accountants, and it can be
accomplished people, absolutely.
Someone that just graduated last year.
Or someone a little more seasoned.
Right.
Yeah. They remember their Greater Kanawha Valley Foundation scholarship.
Yes, it happens without fail almost every time we're together.
Absolutely.
Okay, distributions by category and fund type. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, when you look at that, you kind of see how distributions in the different categories compare by fund type. For example, in health, there were the most distributions came from donor-advised funds in health, followed by discretionary distributions, and then by donor-designated. And this was a kind of a similar pattern, except for in education community-based, there again we had donor-advised distributions leading the way, followed by discretionary, and just a small chunk donor-designated. But then when you move over to education at the university level, those programs, donor-designated, they just outranked all the other categories.
People giving to their alma maters.
That's exactly what it is. Over $1 million went to about 1.1 million went to education at the university level. And only when you look at what's happening at the community level, just a little over 200,000. And then when you looking at basic needs, then the discretionary distributions kind of outrank all the other categories for basic needs, because we're really reacting to what we're seeing at the local level and those dire needs of our community. So,
and we know those have changed a lot over the last couple years.
Absolutely, with COVID, things have really, really changed. So.
And the average grant for each of these categories?
Yeah, the average education university, as you could imagine, had the highest average of about 55,000 of each of those grants. Looking at the average discretionary grant, it's more around 40,000 or so, 40,000 is the average discretionary grant.
So we've talked a lot about how the foundation receives money from generous donors and we put it back out in the community, but we do have to pay a few bills.
Yeah,
So there's administrative cost.
There's admin fee, and we really keep our current admin fee is 0.75%. So it's very low, and we're able to maintain a staff of 13 people and keep the lights on and pay the rent with that amount of money. So we're blessed in that way. We're just under 1% of our assets goes to admin fee.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at like a percentage of what we distribute, 13% of what we distribute is covered by our admin fees.
So I think this is two charts that show very responsible management of our expenses and what we do to get the work done.
That's right, yes. We all love what we do, but we really can't work for free. So
and we do need electric, so yes, there's that.
Yeah, we do need that.
We've celebrated a big anniversary this year.
Yes, the foundation turned 60, and it was just a glorious week of celebration that went on even beyond the week. And it's just amazing to see the growth in our foundation, and our community is so blessed that we had visionary leadership that we've had for the 60 years, where people conceived the idea of the foundation and just made it a reality, and we are just happy to be a part of the growth and look forward to even greater growth in the future. So we're really excited to turn 60 and to continue to support the needs of the community and the people who need help the most.
It is a legacy I'm proud to be a part of. I'll speak for you. I think it's a legacy you're proud to
Absolutely.
be part of and to lead. So thank you very much for that. And thank you to donors who allow us to do it. We appreciate your support so much. And that has been the Greater Kanawha Valley Foundation's presentation of By the Numbers for the year 2021. Thank you so much.